Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. My name is Daniel Tisdale, and I am a senior sales engineer here at Bigeye, and looking forward to giving you all a kind of quick rundown overview of who Bigeye is, what we kind of aim to help in the marketplace. I'm calling in from New York City. If anyone's able to chat in where they're calling in from, please feel free to do so. But I'm going to run through just a couple quick slides, and then we'll get into a quick demonstration of the Bigeye platform as well. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you on the stream. Well, perfect. So awesome in the UK. Well, thanks for calling in. So, really, at a high level, what Big Eye's goal is to really help you create trust in everything that you're building with data. So that could include personas such as data engineers, analysts, any data stewards, and really to help you keep be able to collaborate on keeping your data fresh, accurate, and trustworthy, so that you can make informed business decisions on the data that you are presenting. So, what is data observability? So, for those of you all who aren't super familiar with the concept of data observability is real-time visibility into the behavior of your entire data estate, from the origin of the data through your pipelines into destinations like business intelligence platforms, machine learning platforms, as well as AI applications. So what are some of the benefits and components that make up data observability? So we're able to really help with identifying unknown unknowns, meaning we can detect errors even if they have never been seen before due to our machine learning anomaly detection. The business impact, so giving increased visibility really speeds up the time to resolution for any of those issues or incidents that occur in your data pipelines. Efficiency, so faster deployment, less maintenance than a data quality solution. And then ultimately, again, trust in your data. So being able to detect, resolve issues before your business stakeholders notice or identify those. Now, what are the main components of data observability? So data lineage is a very key and core component. So what path does the data take through your systems, from source systems, upstream transactional on-premise systems, ETL tools, data lakes, data warehouses, and then business intelligence tools as well. Data pipeline monitoring. So that's another big component. So is data flowing on time and in the right amount? Data quality monitoring. Is data fit for purpose, completeness, uniqueness, etc.? And then anomaly detection. Can alerts be automatically determined based on kind of historical trends and patterns of the data? Awesome. So now, what does this kind of look like, visually, as far as what are the different components that we're able to connect to? So, again, databases, we can catch any problems that are, at kind of the core source system. So that could be, a SQL Server, an Oracle, whether that's on-prem or in the cloud. Transformation tools, so Azure Data Factory, DBT, Informatica Power Center, Click Replicate. Hi, Naranjan. Thanks for joining. Data warehouses, so Snowflake, Databricks, Azure, Google Cloud, BigQuery, and then ultimately, various analytics tools, right? So Tableau, Power BI, Looker, Click. We've got numerous different integrations into, really helping you be able to kind of understand the flow of data And then if there are data quality issues, where do those issues first occur so that we can fix those issues at the root cause and prevent those issues from affecting any downstream user or dashboard. So just a few kind of high level KPIs that we and our customers typically look at to really kind of measure the ROI of Bigeye. One of those is just, well, how many users have access across all of your different workspaces, environments. How many tables are you monitoring? So what does the coverage look like from your data architecture perspective? How many hours are you really saving, compared to manually having to write data quality rules? And then mean MTTR reduction is mean time to resolution reduction. So how much better are we able to, and how much faster are we able to identify and resolve any data quality issues compared to when we first started, the process there? And then, of course, how many issues, have we been able to identify and detect, over kind of a specified time period? And then the last slide before I kind of jump into the demonstration here. So just know you're in good company. We focus a lot on, we work with companies of all sizes, but we definitely have quite a few large enterprise customers that we work with, and so you can feel comfortable that enterprise data teams around the world are really choosing Bigeye to run their businesses on trusted data, leveraging Bigeye. So couple logos that come to mind: USAA, large bank, Cisco, Hertz, Zoom. So we really span all types of industries as well. We're industry agnostic, so there's not a a specific industry or vertical that we're not able to support. Awesome. So with that, I am going to jump into kind of a overview and kind of demonstration of the Bigeye platform. Give me 1 second here. Alrighty. Perfect. So where I'm going to start today is actually with inside of a BI tool. So in this case, we're looking at Tableau, and by me looking at this Tableau dashboard, this is all kind of transactional, retail-based data that we have here. I don't really have a good way to understand, what's the quality of the data that is feeding this dashboard. I can notice that, there was a big spike in, it looks like February of this year. Same goes for the beginning of July, and actually a big drop off, just now. So actually we have a zero count for how many order IDs we have, and then subsequently price per unit has dropped. So that looks a little funky, kind of, compared to the historical trends and patterns. But again, as an analyst, I don't really have a great way to understand if that's expected or if there's actually some sort of data quality issue that is, occurring in the data itself. So what we have developed for the analyst persona, really anyone who is wanting to make sure that they can trust the data on a specific dashboard is this Bigeye browser extension. And so when I pop open this Bigeye browser extension, this allows me to see at a high level, some kind of critical KPIs around the data on the dashboard. So the first percentage here, monitoring deployed, that is signifying how much coverage do we have on the different columns that are feeding into this dashboard. So this is how many Bigeye metrics have we deployed. We're doing great there. We've got every single object that's powering this dashboard has at least one Bigeye metric deployed on that. And then metric health, this is out of the metrics that we've deployed on the various columns, how many of those are healthy? So 31 out of the 45 are healthy. So we definitely have some data quality issues. That's resulting in a 68% health score. And as I kind of scroll down a bit on this dashboard here, I can see kind of the different ways that we break down, data quality, dimensionality. So the data is complete. That's great. We are seeing some unexpected duplicate values. The data is valid. And then we're also having some unexpected value distributions. Now down here under issue details, this is where I can see the breakdown of those 14 data quality issues that have been identified, broken into both pipeline and quality issues. So pipeline issues, those include things such as freshness and volume. So as kind of a refresher there, freshness issues we typically have seen for this pipeline or this table, data is updating, every morning at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. rolls around, there's no data that's been updated. That would trigger a freshness issue, and you'd be able to be proactively alerted on that. Volume would be, we're typically expecting 5 million records every data load. Today we got 500 records, or we got 5 billion records. So anything outside of the normal bounds. And then quality, where we have the bulk of our issues, those would include things like duplicate checks, null checks, percent complete checks, values and lists, any sort of custom business logic checks as well. And these are clickable links. So if I wanted to kind of drill into, okay, what's the list of the 11 data quality issues, I can pop open this screen. That'll take me into the details of those issues so that I can start to kind of work through those issues there. So from here, I'm actually going to dive into Bigeye, and we'll kind of take a look at what are those specific data quality issues, how do we resolve those, and then we'll wrap it up from there. So if I jump into this lineage view, what we're looking at is the same critical dashboard in Tableau. So that's kind of our reference point, our downstream data asset that we're really concerned with making sure that the data is high quality, because this is a high value dashboard. It's looked at very often. We make a lot of business decisions based off of it. And it's telling me that there's something that is at risk with this dashboard, which we saw in that browser extension. There were actually 14 data quality issues. So this is a nice, lineage view where I can kind of trace end to end the flow of data from system to system, column to column. And if I start going backwards, right to left, I can see that this Tableau dashboard is powered by this sales dashboard view, which has 4 columns that are feeding into that dashboard. Price per unit, that has a few issues that have been detected with some of the metrics that we've set up. Product type, that looks good. Quantity is telling us that that's at risk because the quantity column upstream has a data quality issue. And then payment type is good. So if I look at price per unit here, I can trace my way kind of, again, right to left. And I can see that there are actually 6 data quality issues at this table. And if I go through my Informatica Power Center ETL job all the way upstream into Oracle here, this price per unit column is highlighted in that light shade of red, which is signifying that this is the root cause of the issues that were detected on the price per unit column. Meaning that's where we would ultimately want to fix those data quality issues. And that way, those same types of issues that are identified further upstream aren't going to continue to propagate down, into a replication layer, into a conform kind of gold layer. So you fix the issue once, and then that issue is not going to, occur downstream from there. Subsequently, we can see that this quantity column, this is the root cause of the issue, meaning that everything was good initially in Oracle. Now, after we did some sort of transformation logic in our ETL job, that's when we first introduced that quantity issue. So the goal again of Bigeye is really helping you kind of speed up the time to resolution, being able to surface up in an easy, concise, visually appealing graph to see the flow of data, and then be able to ultimately fix those issues as soon as possible. So let's kind of dive into this price per unit column. Let's see the details of these issues. So I can click on that issue identifier there, and we can see that there's two issues that are currently open. So I'm going to jump into this issue right here. So this is telling me right up at the top that the average value is too low on price per unit. So what that means is that we have set up a average metric that is telling us what the average value is on the price per unit column day over day. And we can see that from this time series based chart here. This black line is signifying what the observed value is. So what's the actual average that we're seeing on price per unit? And that's everything was within kind of an acceptable range, slight variance. The gray band that's shifting a little bit behind the black line is the machine learning anomaly detection thresholding that is adjusting and shifting to the data as the shape changes over time. But everything was looking good up until the last run of the data. And that's where we see the observed value now be below the lower bound. So this is telling us that, hey, there's some anomaly that has been detected. Okay, so now we have context on that there is an issue. Well, what are some of the details around that issue? How do we resolve that issue? How do we ultimately prevent that same type of issue from occurring in the future? So this description up here at the top, this is leveraging some generative AI that is surfacing up all of the information that we're able to gather and giving you a nice summarization of the details of that so that, again, you can kind of speed up the time to resolve this issue. So it's telling us, what the column is, the specific data set, when it was first detected. It's also telling us that the root cause appears to be, further upstream in the Oracle database. It's identifying and telling us, how many impacted dashboards we have. So in this case, we have 3 Tableau reports that are being affected. So this is really helpful for kind of understanding the blast radius or the overall impact of how many potential users are affected as a result of this data quality issue. And then because we're able to see the affected records, we can surface up some correlations on where we're seeing maybe a higher concentration of anomalous rows. So we're seeing that there's correlations between the product type and the shipping state, specifically where the shipping state is equal to New Mexico. And then some of the product types that we're seeing a higher rate of anomalies are vinyl LP, CD, cassette, and 8-track. Okay, great. So we've got awesome kind of visibility into details on what the issue is. Now, how do we go and resolve that? So from here, I can click on this Resolve tab. And the first thing that you're going to be presented with is some generative AI suggested resolutions that you can take to actually fix or resolve this issue. So this is going to surface up some information and actually actions or steps that you can take. I can mark whether these worked or they didn't work so that in the future, I am able to have context and see, hey, for a similar type of issue, I verified that the logic was working in one of the ETL processes. That did fix it because I identified there was some bad logic, or maybe we've already verified that actually didn't work. So you can mark those there. This data diagnosis section, this is where I'm able to see what's called a debug query. And a debug query allows you to just see the actual records or rows where that price per unit value is lower than the lower threshold. I can copy this through my clipboard, take that into Snowflake or Databricks or Oracle, SQL Server, wherever that issue is occurring. And now I can actually easily see the affected records. We also have the ability, with the current permissions set up, to be able to kind of preview some of that in the browser cache if you want to easily look at that here just in the Bigeye UI. Could download the affected rows as well. And then down here, ETL analysis. This allows you to see the actual ETL code that is running to generate this table. And it's telling us that there's potentially an issue in the where clause that might be causing some of those anomalies. So this, again, is just a helpful way to kind of help you resolve any of the issues that are being detected. And then the related issues summary down here, this is where I can see previous issues that occurred across this table and what were the steps that we took to actually resolve those specific issues there. Awesome. So jumping back into Lineage Graph real quick, we also have the ability to help with preventative actions. So on this table here, we can see that there are 4 suggested preventions, meaning these are 4 things that Bigeye is suggesting that you can do to the ETL code, or the SQL code in this case, to actually harden or make sure that this same type of issue is not going to occur in the future. Once I've implemented any of these, I can check that off. And that would signify that, for anyone else who's coming in, that, hey, this has actually been introduced and, added as a step to help kind of fix the ETL and make sure that that's not going to cause further issues in the future. Awesome. So a couple other things that I wanted to touch on real quick is just the ability to kind of see holistically across, your entire data source. How are we looking from kind of a health perspective? So these are what we call scorecards. These show me, day over day, how things are performing. Where do we potentially have a higher concentration of issues? I can drill into a schema, and now I'm seeing the same scorecard and the details for that on that schema. And I can go all the way down to an individual table here, where again, I can see all of the details of that. I can click and see all of the active metrics that are deployed. What issues do we have open? I can also add a new monitor from here. So if I wanted to click on add monitoring, this is going to take me through kind of the modal to add a new data quality metric. Lots of different ways to add data quality metrics. If I want to access all of those metrics, and we've got around 70 or so out of the box, I can just click on the all metrics button here. That's going to pull up that full list of metrics. And so I'm going to say, let's make sure we don't have any duplicates. So select the duplicates metric. And then I choose the column that I want to apply that for. So we're going to apply that duplicate metric to order ID. We want to make sure that in this orders table, we don't have any duplicate order IDs. From here, I can now kind of set up the configuration of this specific metric. The auto threshold for threshold type, that's going to be leveraging the machine learning anomaly detection. And that is where we're going to look at kind of a one-time historical backfill of your data. In this demo environment here, we're looking at 21 days of historical data to kind of help generate those initial thresholds. That's configurable. If you need to go further back in time to account for seasonality. And then from here, I can assign kind of an owner of the metric. So the person, maybe the data steward who's most responsible for this. And then a collection allows me to kind of streamline, any sort of notifications related to this metric and any other metrics in that collection. So if I want every metric touching that sales dashboard to go to a certain Slack channel or email a certain distribution list or individual or Teams channel, I have the ability to kind of set that up in one place, define that at the collection, and then assign that metric to the collection there. From there, I click deploy, and that kind of completes the process for actually deploying a Bigeye metric. Awesome. Well, I know that we have just around 1 minute left. Brian, I see your question around elaborating on seasonality a bit. Yeah, so on the metrics themselves, we, as part of the auto threshold setup, you can define a historical look back, right? So if you have very seasonal you know data patterns, or there's kind of sporadic spikes in the data, you might want to set a longer backfill of the data. So you might want to go 90 days back, or a year back, or even 2 years back. And that'll help generate and compute kind of the initial thresholds for the metric itself. And then on a metric, I can see the runs. Under the runs tab, this is where I can see all of the historical information around what the actual computed value is, as well as the lower boundary and the upper boundary. I can always provide additional feedback by marking this as, hey, this actually should have been an anomalous record, or maybe this is a normal record. I'm also able to, when I'm closing out an issue, provide feedback to the model itself. So that's that. When I say seasonality, that's what I mean around allowing Bigeye to look at some of the history of your data and really help kind of dictate what those thresholds should be. Awesome. Well, I know we are at the bottom of the hour here. I appreciate everyone jumping on. And we'll conclude this here in just a minute and pick up next month. Brian, if you wanted to follow up with our team and have kind of a deeper discussion around seasonality, feel free to see the link above on how to request a demo, and be more than happy to dive into a deeper conversation with you. But I appreciate everyone hopping on, and I really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to the next month's webinar. So I appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.